Right then guys, it's PSL here and I'm here for my final video, for a while at least, on F1 2017. Now this has become a sort of tradition on the channel because the final video I made on F1 2015 came out just before F1 2016's release, and the final video I made on F1 2016 came out just before F1 2017 was released. But for the time being at least, my final video on F1 2017 is a revisiting of a video I made earlier. Now the video in question is a classic cars race around Suzuka short. Now the reason I made this video in the first place was because it ticked two boxes. The first one is that it allowed me to show off a lot of the new features in the game, as well as a couple of returning features which I do like. One of those being the fact you can script weather. Now this will be key, so do remember this. I scripted the weather in the race, also the time progression. The time progression was at ×5 speed and started at sunrise. The weather, I scripted it so that it would start off sunny, then light rain, then heavy rain, and then going back to sunny conditions again. The race didn't really play out like that. I think I know why, but as I said, I'll get into that later on. The cars that took part in the race ranged from the Ferrari F2004 all the way down to the 1988 McLaren. Now the gap in pace between the cars, now bearing in mind this is a short circuit, this is another reason why this video was good, because it allowed me to show off these short circuits, which I do like actually, and I hope they return for F1 2018. I mean, yeah, sure, Bahrain short was completely pointless. Silverstone short was reasonably good. USA short, Kota short is a very good circuit. It's unique really in the game for being a slow speed, tight technical, mechanical grip circuit. But Suzuka short, in terms of lap time, is the shortest track in the game. So obviously this race was going to be chaos. That was the second box this race ticked. It was chaos when you've got changeable conditions with classic cars from multiple classes which vary wildly in pace, and also a short circuit that is still reasonably high speed, so it means the cars are lapping each other at great speed consistently. Of course you're going to get chaos, and the video which made it to air was a shadow of the video it could have been. Now in this video I'll be doing the exact same thing, the same scripted weather, the same circuit, everything exactly the same. However, with the 2017 Formula 1 cars. So of course it's just onto the business of which 2017 car I'm going to use. Now I did think about it because I wanted to use a car that I've never used before in any series on this channel. So again, modern F1 cars, not the classic F1 cars. That was chaos with the difference in speed between the top cars and the bottom cars. The modern Formula 1 cars. And it's not a Mercedes, and it's not a Ferrari. It is going to be the Red Bull. That is the car I will be using for this video, because it is, I think, one of, if not the only team in F1 2017 that I can't really claim to have used in any series before on the channel. The closest I've got to using Red Bull is managing Stewart in my current Grand Prix World Series. Anyway, here we go, Suzuka short Grand Prix. Now I should say, one thing I haven't said, this is a 100% distance race. However, there's still 53 laps. It's the same amount of laps as if it was the full Suzuka circuit. Anyway, rundown of the grid, it's a Mercedes 1-2, Hamilton in front of Bottas, colour me not surprised. A Ferrari 3-4 with Vettel leading the way, then Verstappen, Ricciardo, Massa in 7th, of course, Massa in this, Perez, Sainz, Hulkenberg, Lance Stroll, Roman Grosjean, Ocon, Alonso, Magnussen, Kvyat, of course, Van Dorn, Jolyon Palmer, Marcus Ericsson, and Pascal Wehrlein. Now, the specific Red Bull driver I am is Daniel Ricciardo, so of course I got unlucky and started behind my teammate, but then again, well, Red Bull drivers and luck, that's a sore subject, so I won't really dwell on that. Anyway, as you can see, a one-stop strategy, but it's irrelevant really, because this race is going to rain. It's going to rain at some point. I don't really know at what point, because well, it's scripted. A quarter of the way in, but then again, we're talking about the quarter of the way in to a 100% distance race, which isn't actually 100% distance because we're not driving anywhere close to, is it 200 miles, 300 kilometers? I think that defines a 100% distance race, or 2 hours, of course. Anyway, 6th place, Verstappen just up ahead, then both Ferraris, then both Mercedes. Let's see how well this goes. So the Suzuka Short Grand Prix in F1 2017 is underway, and it's a decent start by myself, but a much better start from Felipe Massa, who's got past both Red Bulls and is alongside Kimi Raikkonen. Oh, and there's contact. In fact, I'm not sure if there was contact actually, but certainly Massa forced out wide, and there was nearly contact there again. Felipe Massa forcing me off the circuit, but then again, he's just doing exactly what Raikkonen did to him at the first corner. I got past Max Verstappen, however, I am behind Felipe Massa, so that is a net, well, no position gain off the start, and that is 1 lap already. You see, if this was a true 100% distance race, there would be, well, I don't know how many laps. I haven't done the maths, but over 100 certainly. But then again, you know, I don't mind doing a short 100% distance race, which shouldn't even make sense. Felipe Massa, fantastic start. Of course, he's on the super softs. Everyone else, I believe, in the top 6 was on the softs. I don't actually think there was any contact between Massa and Raikkonen. I called it initially, but I really don't think there was, although incredibly close racing between Massa and Raikkonen. Another replay of the start, Valtteri Bottas in 2nd place. Now, there were yellow flags deployed briefly at the start, and I know something happened up ahead. In fact, a fantastic start from Sebastian Vettel, 3 wide into the first corner, and Vettel has taken the race lead, and Bottas nearly span around, recovered it, but lost, well, he lost a position. I mean, he started behind Hamilton anyway, but he's lost 1 position off the start. Well, both Mercedes drivers have. Vettel made a fantastic start. Both Mercedes were on the super softs, okay, so I was incorrect with my tyre assertion, but Vettel had the better start on the harder tyre. Now that has put Vettel in very good stead for this race. He's on the harder tyre and he's got the track position. Now, I said this is a high speed circuit. I mean, it's an oval where one side's straight and the other side is wiggly. Much like Le Mans, actually, you can describe Le Mans in exactly the same way. It's an oval where one side's straight and the other side's a bit wiggly, but despite that, I would say this is not the easiest circuit to overtake around. And we got Kvyat in a Toro Rosso, and what on earth, in fact, yeah, no, this was probably why the yellow flags were deployed. I'm not sure if there was any contact there. I think there was a Renault alongside him, so that would have been, I assume, Jolie and Palmer. I think Hulkenberg was starting further up the field. So that's all the replays of the first lap. So that's 1 lap down, 52 left to go. But then again, they roll off extremely quickly. In the dry, you're talking about a 33-second lap, I believe, from memory. And here we go. Carlos Sainz. Wow, there was an overtake going on ahead, and that was between Sergio Perez and my teammate Max Verstappen. So Verstappen has had a really poor start to the Grand Prix. He's lost a position to myself as Daniel Ricciardo, Felipe Massa, and now Sergio Perez. So you can see on the left-hand side, although maybe it's not the best time to be looking at the position because you should be looking at where you're going. I really should have been looking at where I was going. Past Massa, too late on the brakes, way too deep. Massa just then strolls on by. Wow. Anyway, Massa in 6th, Perez... No, sorry, I'm in 6th, Massa in 5th, Perez in 7th. I'm a soft tyre runner in between 2 super soft tyre runners. Alongside Massa, there's the contact. That has been inevitable for some time, but on lap 7, already on lap 7, there's contact between myself and Massa. Only wheel banging, no damage, but that so nearly happened on the first lap. But on the first lap, the difference is I actually steer to the right. I tried to avoid the contact, but we're 7 laps down. 7 laps completed on lap 8. I don't have time to be giving quarters to a Williams driver. Of course, Williams quicker in 2017 than they are in 2018, but that's Massa too late on the brakes. We have forced a mistake, and that is just about myself up into 5th place. I nearly lost it on the exit of the first corner, but finally I've got up into 5th place. Now, this could, in fact, actually, we got a replay of this, and there was Sergio Perez directly behind me. Of course, he's on the super softs. Verstappen, not in sight. I seem to be the quickest Red Bull driver. I'm certainly the better one when it comes to racing, when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing. Massa nearly lost it as well. Well, I was complaining about myself nearly losing it, which nearly gave the position back, but Massa really nearly lost it big time. So we're on lap 19, yeah, this is what I was going to say. The problem is now that I've passed Massa, and now that Verstappen's way behind me, what is there for me to do? I'm slower than the Ferrari, slower than the Mercedes. Of course, when drivers come into the pits, that helps. Kimi Räikkönen has come into the pits there, so that has promoted myself up into 4th place, with Valtteri Bottas in 3rd, and it's still Hamilton in 2nd, Vettel in 1st. I said that, you know, this is a high-speed circuit, but it's not easy to overtake around. The top 3 haven't changed position since the first corner. Massa, Perez, Verstappen, Räikkönen came out behind Verstappen. Interesting info to potentially know, well, for the future at least. Especially, as I said, it is difficult to overtake around, so Räikkönen could be held up in a Verstappen train. Talking about trains, what on earth is this? We got both Saubers, who are, of course, blue flagged. Blue flag, move out the way, and that is Vettel lapping a driver. The only reason I'm showing it is because lapping was a key integral part of the race in the Classic Cars race, and also a key source of chaos and destruction, especially in the race which never made it to air, unfortunately. But I just wanted to show that, you know, lappings are happening already, and the rain hasn't even fallen. Well, it hadn't even fallen when it happened then, but we've got rain falling now. Lap 23 of the Grand Prix, and I've got to debate whether to come in for the inters or to stay out on the softs for another lap. But on the steering, yep, we're definitely coming in for the inters. Definitely the pit lane. I mean, I almost crashed in the pit lane. How embarrassing would that have been if I crashed in the pit lane? Intermediate tyres by the looks of it. Massa's still out there on dries. Verstappen is still out there on dries. Yeah, Verstappen's passed me on the soft. So is Räikkönen. I appear to be the first man on the intermediate tyres. Well, hopefully it doesn't backfire. You see, actually you get the exact opposite dilemma around this circuit that you do in Spa. Because, of course, Spa is such a massive... Oh no, I'm getting blue flagged, of course. That's the thing. I pit once, I'm in the top 5, I pit once, and I've got blue flags. And I'm not really racing with Vettel. I shouldn't really be beating him, so I may as well just let him go. And also, it's the rules. I mean, I know David Croft... Actually, I don't watch Sky F1. Does David Croft still moan about there being blue flags in Formula 1? Because I watch Channel 4, but I mean, you know... I know David Croft certainly once upon a time really wanted blue flags to be removed, but, you know... I mean, anyway... Moving on, Vettel's in the pits. A lot of people are coming into the pits just one lap later. Yellow flags. Dread to think what the reason for that could be, and that is virtual safety car. That, in theory, shouldn't help me because I pitted when the field was going full speed, and some of those guys pitting under VSC, but I'm still in 4th place. And a bit of calm is instilled in the Grand Prix, so I think we now get the opportunity to find out what caused that yellow flag. Something to do with Max Verstappen coming into the pit. Okay, right, so it's Verstappen... No, hang on, please, no, because... Yep, Verstappen locked up to slow down for the pits limiter. I mean, fair enough. It's dry tyres on a wet track, especially the pits lane is going to be wetter because there's no cars constantly driving over it to dry it out, but that is Verstappen. Actually, Verstappen's got no front wing. Of course, because he crashed heading into the pit lane just before the pits limiter, and so the pit crew didn't have a front wing ready to fit on the car. So this is one lap later, Verstappen. I talked about Verstappen holding up a train of Räikkönen, but that's not really a train if it's just 2 cars, but this is a train. especially when the lead car is going that slowly. Verstappen, of course, coming in for a new front wing, which the team didn't have time. What? What? Hang on, how is this? Verstappen is driving on 3 wheels. He's pitted. The pit crew are trying to fit the dangling tyre. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Looking up when it's, you know, when you're on dry tyres in a wet pit lane, fair enough. But look at that. He made the same mistake 2 laps in a row, and this time he's taken out the front left. I mean, the pit crew are manhandling it. What are you going to do? You can't just, like, rip off the tyre tethers and then just stick on a new tyre with tyre tethers and, you know, it be safety approved by the FIA. Or do it in a timely manner. I mean, what's... Well, Verstappen's out. I mean, the pit crew tries, they might. Also, it looks like that potentially that could be a Force India and McLaren driver out. I don't think so. There's still 19 runners registered as being in the Grand Prix, but what on earth was all that about? You see, the dry portion of the race was a bit... It was a bit dry, actually. It was a bit dull, is what I'm trying to get across. But certainly, once it... In fact, that... Wow, Perez really forcing Van Dorn out. And also, our blue flags. Yeah, look. 2 cars racing side by side aggressively, plus blue flags, plus wet conditions. Yeah, in fact, actually, Van Dorn, I think, chipped off a bit of the Mercedes driver's front wing. I'm not sure which one that is. Is that... Oh, I couldn't really tell by the helmet design there. But even... I mean, either way, that's really bad. That's really bad sportsmanship. Oh, yeah, and also... I mean, all of that chaos happened earlier on in the lap. I forgot that there was more action waiting to happen. The Sauber drivers making contact with each other. Oh, there's where I come in. In fact, actually... Really lucky. Van Dorn was so lucky not to collect another car there. In fact, Van Dorn's lost a bit of his front wing. So he's come out on top on the battle with Perez. But honestly, that was a battle with no winners. And the Mercedes... Okay, I think this was Hamilton, who was the Mercedes driver. And look at that. In fact, no, this is a different incident to the one we just saw. That was Hamilton losing a bit of his front wing on the back of... Well, there was another Force India driver, so I dare say it could well be Ocon. Well, I mean, Hamilton's got to come into the pits. That's destroyed his race. I mean, he was battling for the race lead with Vettel. Sure, Vettel had an advantage, but in these sorts of conditions, this is where Hamilton shines. But new front wing, new intermediate tyres, a fresh set of rubber, but I mean, that's such a slow pit stop. Vettel could lap Hamilton in the time it takes for the changes to be made. That's how short this track is. I mean, okay, in wet conditions, you're talking about about a 40 plus second lap. I mean, certainly a lot slower than low 30 seconds. Anyway, finally, actually, this was my first proper lap, well, time me lapping a car. So that's me getting past one of the Sauber drivers. There is Marcus Ericsson up ahead. I think the other drivers I lapped previously, I either lapped in the pit lane or... well, were crashed on the side of the road. So, anyway, that's 2 clean, successful, genuine lappings by myself there. And of course, actually, in these conditions, the Red Bull is the car you want to be driving. A car which has got, you know, very high downforce, good chassis, so they keep saying. In fact, there's Van Dorn proving that McLaren do keep lying when they say they've got the best chassis on the grid. So that's another successful lapped car. And I'm up into 3rd place. In fact, actually, I think I'm in 3rd place because of Hamilton's front wing damage. I mean, I don't know what Van Dorn was doing here. And wow, actually, Van Dorn, when he slid off the circuit to let me go through, rejoined into the path of Kimi Räikkönen. And this means Räikkönen has to go into the pits. Please don't lock up. Please don't lock up. We do not need another embarrassing retirement. No, Räikkönen, he's got enough experience to know how to enter a pit lane. For Christ's sake. Anyway, new front wing, new tyres, just like with Hamilton. So, Räikkönen's race has been destroyed in exactly the same way, for exactly the same reason, as Hamilton's. So it's really not been a good day for Hamilton. Lost the lead off the start, Vettel's out there dominating, and then any opportunity Hamilton had to reclaim the lead is long gone. So it's myself in third. I mean, I've taken third purely for avoiding incidents such as, well, whatever Lance Stroll was doing off there. I mean, the Van Dorn incident was ridiculous. Van Dorn let me go through, but then decided to take out Raikkonen in the process. But Raikkonen would have been under, well, Van Dorn would have been under blue flags from Raikkonen anyway. And I think we're just seeing a replay of Lance Stroll. Actually, no, this was worse than what happened with Van Dorn, but potentially Van Dorn could have gone the same way had he not made contact with Raikkonen, because Lance Stroll just, well, slid off the circuit and then onto the other side of the circuit. He was still sat there. This was a long time, actually. I mean, Lance Stroll eventually decides to reverse onto the circuit, parks it there. Okay. Nice one. Really nice one. There's myself, actually, lapping Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll is only content to move once he's taken out someone and once I've lapped him. I think we're going to get a replay of this. So this is Hamilton battling with the Force India driver. Small contact, but in wet conditions, that's just enough on this low friction surface to slide him around. And there's a passing Marcus Ericsson. I think finally it's happened. We're finally getting to the stage where this race is similar to the Classic Cars race. I knew this race was never going to match the Classic Cars race. There were too many cars with too big a performance gaps. And in fact, actually, what is this? This is... Hang on. Valtteri Bottas is directly ahead of me. Okay. So Bottas was held up in a massive train. Someone went into the pits. There's Carlos Sainz, who's got to let me go through. And how are we going to do this? Okay, just like every other lapped car on the first corner. So Sainz has gone off. There's Bottas in second. I knew I was catching up to Bottas. I mean, if you rewinding several laps, I was in a situation where Raikkonen was catching up to me, but I was catching up to Bottas. And I think this is why. Look at his rear light. It's flashing near constantly. No, I mean, of course, it's wet condition. In fact, wow. That overtake came out of nowhere. I mean, it was inevitable, but that happened so quickly and easily around the final corner. That shouldn't even be an overtaking spot. But Bottas, I mean, he's clearly got some ERS deployment issues because he was going incredibly slowly. I was catching him up, then caught him up, then passed him as easy as you like. But Sebastian Vettel, from what, about 5 seconds in the Grand Prix, was leading it, and he's won it comfortably. Sebastian Vettel has won the Suzuka Short Grand Prix. And I've taken second. Partially because Hamilton's got involved in, off the top of my head, I think 3 incidents this Grand Prix. Bottas, I don't know whether it's a driver issue, but certainly the red light had been flashing a lot. So I think Bottas has got a ERS deployment issue. Typical bad luck for Bottas. Raikkonen's got involved in incidents. Verstappen's been incredibly slow and then retired himself out of the Grand Prix. That leaves me to take second, purely by avoiding incidents. And the same can be said for Sebastian Vettel, actually. Vettel won because he never got involved in a single crash, incident, anything. The race order, it's Vettel who won the Grand Prix, myself in second, the 2 clean runners effectively from this race. There's Bottas, Hamilton with a 10-second penalty, Massa in 5th, then Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Alonso in 9th, Sainz in 10th, Palmer in 12th has got a 10-second time penalty. And this is why. So as you can see on screen, you've got Hamilton has got a stop-go penalty for the severe collision with Ericsson. Fair enough. Palmer, though, got a stop-go penalty for ignoring a blue flag, and then they both got 5-second penalties for not serving their stop-goes. Somehow that 5-second penalty turned into a 10-second penalty, unless it was a 5-second stop-go. But also, I'm fairly certain, if you don't serve a stop-go, it just gets added to your race time. You don't get it doubled, which I think is what happened here. Anyway, Jolyon Palmer ignored blue flags. I traced it down to the lap it happened, and the driver that was behind Jolyon Palmer was me. That was myself, but also, I don't really think I was ever that... Oh, there's Stroll. I don't think I was ever really that close to Palmer. to be honest, I genuinely would not say that Palmer held me up. I don't think Palmer deserves the penalty. I wasn't ever that close. I was close enough to trigger blue flags, but he wasn't holding me up. It's one of those quirks. He broke the rules because if he was shown blue flags, he should have let me go through, but also it would have harmed his race more than it should have done, given what the rules meant to do. Yeah, so really do feel bad for Palmer, and that was my fault as well. Anyway, I mean, there's the race standings, so, you know, you can read the race results. Everyone, apart from the top 4 drivers, was lapped. But then again, short circuit, changeable conditions, what do you expect? Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the not too distant future, of course, for my Grand Prix World series and my F1 2003 Reverse Grid series, which will be carrying on, but more excitingly, for my F1 2018 videos, which will be starting, of course, when the game comes out. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it. I certainly am, and I'll see you guys in my next video.